Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Eight Letters Live, where we feature books by self publishing authors. Our guest for today is a Filipino Australian IT professional who has an interest in sci fi films and writing sci fi stories. Playing League of Legends is his other pastime, and he dreams of traveling the world and visiting places of interest related to, of course, science fiction and urban fantasy novels. Please welcome Renato Tranquilino. Hello.
Hi, it's great to be here.
Hi. Welcome. Welcome to Eight Letters.
Thank you, thank you.
It's nice to see
Yeah.
you again, di ba? Kasi we
Yeah.
I guess
Now
that in
the
your show
table,
and now you're here.
yeah, now the table's turned. So ikaw ngayon ang mag-interview sa akin.
Yes. Exciting, exciting. I have lots of questions for you. Okay, so Renato, are you based here now or are you in Australia?
Yes, I am currently based in here, sa Manila, and
Mm.
but I my career started off in Australia, then lived in New York for 8 years, and
Mm.
so now I'm on my third international city, my home city, now Manila. I grew up.
Yay.
I was born here. I was born in Philippines. So,
In the Philippines. Yeah, so at least your reach is I don't know, it's wide. Okay, because you
yeah.
have you can have a fan base in Australia, you can have a fan base in Manila and elsewhere. Okay, now let's talk about the book. Okay, your interest in science fiction is already a given. Sabi dun sa iyong bio, but was there anything that inspired you to write the stories in Fate of a Distant Future?
I think like what inspired me to write about it is I, how I try to imagine ano mangyari sa Philippines like 4,000 years from now. And looking at paano ang situation dito. Ano yung mga fears natin, ano yung aspirations ng tao, ganun. So I try to project that across, like 4,000 years into the future. And what happens in between that, in blocks of say 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 years. So ang I think the other thing too is like, how do I write about the future na hindi
Mhm.
mabobore ang Filipino? Um, that's why I kind of made it short. Yung life in Manila is very fast paced. So anyone that's I heard from people that 100 pages plus is the most people can tolerate na like in terms of stories, and because then they
When
want
you
to go
read, yeah.
when you're here. So, which is different, of course, sa kinalakihan ko. In
Yes.
Australia, like the average magbasa kami is like 300, 400 pages. Actually, yung mga 100 pages na libro hindi namin masyadong binabasa because we think that it's like parang pang kids, Um, but yeah, yeah. Ibang, it's a cultural thing. It's a
Yes.
so, I had to adapt. How can I tell the story, um, like in such a short
Mm.
number of pages, that I can still get my point across. You know. So,
It's good that no you considered that thing that cultural differences also.
mhm. It's, I
Mm-hmm.
think as a writer, it's very important for you to know who you're writing for, and
Yes.
and I learned something from Lord De Vera as well. He's a four-time Palanca Award winner. So one advice sa to me is, kung gusto mong sumikat yung libro mo, dito ka muna dapat magpasikat. O dito ka dapat mag-train sumikat. And how you gonna do that? It's like it's well, you have to adapt. You have to know your people and what they like.
Yes.
There's no point, and nagkamali ako nito. There's no point creating a 500-page book na walang magbabasa dito dahil
Mm.
it's too long. Okay, so I geared it to that. So sabi ko, okay, I want to address Pinoy sci-fi, but I want it also to be readable enough by a lot of people, even by kids,
Yeah.
na hindi masyadong mahirap intindihin yung language, yung English. Kasi sometimes kasi pag nagbasa ka ng Asimov, gano'n, no, di ka, Asimov, napaka-technical. So, madali kang mabobore kung hindi ka sci-fi. Ano. So, that my inspiration basically is to see, to imagine what it would be like for the Philippines 4,000
Mm.
years from now, and the things we have to do to get there. So that's yung challenge ko na I thought, okay, let's give it a shot, and
Mm.
that's how Fate of a Distant Future came about.
I would admit to you that I'm not much of a sci-fi fan or a reader, but
That's all right.
I know people who are. And
Mm-hmm.
medyo na-influence ako na say, manood na,
Mm-hmm.
what's a sci-fi? Dune, for example.
Yes. Oh, June. Okay. All
And
right.
okay, kasi
Game yun.
before
Heavy.
I watched Dune, doon muna ako sa
Uh-oh.
mas kaya ko eh. No? I could actually relate to what you're saying, yung readable muna, something that's easily understandable. Back to the Future, si Marty
Okay.
McFly.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
So,
That's
yung
very easy. Like,
saying
yep.
na you had to imagine a world like
Mm-hmm.
4,000 years from now. Yun kasi, yung sa, well, do sa mga di pa nakakapanood, meron kasing 2015 doon. I think that was the last film for Back to the Future. They
Mm-hmm.
created this world, US na in 2015. And of course, I was watching in 2021. I was like, that doesn't look like 2015. But that was how they envisioned it in the 1980s or 1990s. So sa iyo ba, parang how did you conceptualize or imagine? For example, uh, hoverboard is not so sci-fi anymore kasi meron na yan dito, no?
Meron na.
But in the past,
Yeah.
wala pa. So,
Mhm.
anong klaseng technology? Bigyan mo lang kami ng idea. Yung meron ng 4,000 years from now in the Philippines.
I think you'll find like yung mga ships na yung transport system natin, they're gonna start to use the air more kasi yung
Mm.
battery magkakaroon siya magiging longer lasting at saka powerful ang batteries. So, kayang-kaya niya magpalipad ng, let's take for example, jeep, no? Kayang-kaya lumipad ng jeep na safe. Yung mga taxis, pwede na siyang lumilipad. In fact, ang mangyayari is pagka yung low-class citizen ka, nagda-drive ka. Pero kung
Mm.
mayaman ka, ang kotse mo, yung air car.
Air.
Parang ganon.
Wow.
So, magkakaroon ng level yan.
May
Um,
class distinction din.
yeah, tapos, di ba yung mga if naglibot ka sa Manila, ang dami nagtataasan na building, ano?
Yes.
Um, Eventually, ah, yung mga nasa 20th floor, ganon,
Mm.
tapos nandun na yung parking nila for air cars,
Mm.
yun ang mga magiging middle class. Pagka yung nasa bottom ka, um, yung halos hindi mo na makita yung sun,
Mm.
di doon nakatira yung mga nagda-drive ng kotse. So, ganun yung ano. Tapos, di ba, takot na takot tayo sa nuclear. Ganun.
Yes.
Um, so, in the future, baliwala yon yung nuclear. Like, para
Mm.
lang siyang power station. So, lahat ng city magkakaroon ng, ng nuclear
Nuclear plant.
fission facility kasi kakailanganin natin ng mas marami pang energy.
Mhm.
And so, what does that mean? Well, it means that magtataasan bababa ang kuryente because it's gonna be such a
Mhm.
cost. Internet is gonna be like the sign, like it's just gonna be more powerful, more interconnection ng
Mhm.
interconnectivity ng mga tao. So it's like just projecting things, like uh, traffic is gonna be bad, right? Kaya nga the only way they're gonna resolve that is by allowing air cars to happen.
Mhm.
Kaya lang,
Yeah.
Of course, there's gonna be accidents, pero that's part of everything. Even with cars, when it first started, di
Mhm.
ba? Daming accidents dahil hindi nila makontrol yung kotse, sanay sila sa kabayo, and then so that's how I kind of project things in terms of like uh, looking into the future. And in terms of pacing, di ba? Parang sinabi mo nga, 2015, parang hindi naman ganun. Nasa
Mhm.
2021 tayo, pero hindi. So, actually, that's a good basis. Noong mga 1970s, sabi nila may mga undersea cities na tayo, lumilipad yung
Mhm.
aircraft. By 2020, diba? Meron pang mga cartoons na Sea 2020, all these like, laboratory like stations under the
Mhm.
water, under the sea. Well, yes, nangyari yon, pero not to the extent na talagang may cities doon. So you probably be
Mhm.
looking at another maybe 50 years, ganun. So you given that, so 1970 to say 2050 is when, ano yan, how many years is that? 80 years ba? Oh,
30
2050.
plus years,
Mga
yes.
80 years, mga 80 years. So siguro 80 to 100 years, doon nila marirealize yung mga pinagsasasabi nila in 1970. Yung sa moon, di ba? In space, kung may
Mhm.
nakaka-remember dito, Space 1999, Moon Base Alpha. Um, like, that probably won't happen for another 20, maybe 20 years. So, kasi based on
Mhm.
sa nakikita natin, sa pangyayari. And a lot of it is driven by money. Kasi napaka-expensive syempre pumunta um, ano, sa buwan and mag-based on. Si Paolo may Silab
Yeah,
2021 sa Adult Swim.
adults.
Tapos,
What's that? What's Silab 2021?
ano siya, cartoon siya. It's about,
Ah,
it's about
that
like,
that said, Renato, ibig sabihin,
uh,
yung 4,000 years na yun, strategic, ano din siya, ano? Is a strategy for you also? Is it parang ganun ba?
yes, parang, yeah,
Hmm.
in-estimate ko na, given the rate of, development ng technology natin, it will take this long
Mhm.
to say reach. One of the stories is to reach the nearest planet that's the same as Earth. Okay, so yun nga yung ginawa ko in one of the stories that what the Philippines did. Next applied psycho
Psychohis psychohistory. That is
to
why I don't write sci-fi kasi mahirap siya for me, nahihirapan ako.
galing
Magbabasa
talaga.
na lang ako ng sci-fi. Now, yeah, um, since pinag-uusapan na natin projecting into the
Mhm.
future, like 4,000 years from now, ganyan. In your bio, I read that this book is actually a prequel to a bigger
Yes.
project. Now, how is this book going to like help create the universe for the second book or for
I'm
your
basically
third book?
right. So this is like, so we said it's prequel. So I want to give people yung background in terms of paano nangyari itong mga incidents na to. So they when they start reading the 500 page plus novel, they will always fondly recall back to, oh yeah, that point was made
Mm,
in that book. So hindi
yeah.
na sila unfamiliar doon sa binabasa nila
Mm,
kasi ang mahirap, especially if you're trying to push the Pinoy sci-fi genre sa mga Pinoy. Ang gusto nila is ano bang basihan niyan? Hindi
mm-hmm.
sila basta makakapasok na, oh my God, ayan na, ang Pinas,
Right.
nasa ano na, nasa ibang mundo na sila. Paano
Mm-hmm.
nangyari yun? Um, so, ang ginawa ko is like, itong book na ito, just is a primer. So,
I
ano
was about to
mga,
say that. That's the exact word. Is it a primer to dun sa
uh,
mas mahabang work? Right.
yeah, I was tempted at one point. Hi, Alfredo,
Mm.
kasi, um, I was tempted at one point na pasukin kagad yung 500 page. Sabi ko, pero yun nga, pinag-isipan ko rin yung, anong basehan ng tao, saan
Right.
sila, itong mga pangyayari na to. Kasi, yung, yung simula yung malaking novel, is bakbakan ka agad.
Mm-hmm.
So, tapos may mga history, ganun. So, maaaring mawala ang tao pagka yung,
They might get
ano,
overwhelmed also, no?
overwhelmed, oo. Kasi dun sa bagong libro, nag-touch on ako dito, may mga political angle, may mga,
Mm.
um, controversial decisions, there's world government, ganun. That will all come into play. Pati yung crypto, yung digital currency, minention ko din doon, yun ang magiging standard. So, um, there's a lot to take in. So, kailangan parang i-prime ko yung brain ng Pinoy reader for the bigger the bigger book, so that every chapter na nagbabasa sila, makaka-relate sila na, yeah, yan yung sa dati, ganun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Sa,
good also that you're thinking of that when you wrote this book. Meaning, hindi ka lang basta nagsulat. I mean, naisip mo na yung how to organize that universe. Tapos
mhm,
yung nga may primer ka. Because it's a huge thing din kasi like, sabi mo nga, if you want to reintroduce, I guess, or
mhm,
parang get more people into reading sci-fi, this is one of the ways to do it.
mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
tsaka
So,
yung ease of
mm,
understanding, ease of
mm,
language. I don't like using big words. I would rather use comparisons. Um,
mhm.
Sabihin ko, like, ay, parang yung sa Malacanang o parang yung
Hmm,
um, sa Cultural Center of the Philippines o yan sa SM San Lazaro, parang ganyan. Tapos yung SM San Lazaro dinugtong sa Winford Hotel, Casino,
mhm.
ano ba, hang on.
Relatability
Kung
yung
Yeah.
hinahabol mo, 'no?
Yes,
Right?
yes. So pag sinabi mo, okay, there's a spaceport na doon mismo
Hmm,
sa San Lazaro na kinonect yung building ng SM at saka yung Winford, alam
right.
na. So
Yes.
diyan itatayo yung spaceport ng Dumagoso International Space Station, no, spaceport, gano'n. So
Right.
meron na silang idea.
Yeah,
Kaya
then it activates their prior knowledge.
mhm. Also their
Right.
imagination. Imagine na,
Mm.
ay, pwede pala yun. So,
Mhm.
um, so it just takes, how can I say this? I'm triggering something in their minds na
Mhm.
expect more from your leaders to take you to this level. Hindi
Mhm.
lang yung puro politics.
Yeah.
It has to be a leader na they will take you to this level, pero dapat may alam yung hindi lang yung pabudots-budots palate. Yeah, yung like
Yes, there's
well,
shade there.
yung sayaw-sayaw, like I guess
Mhm.
um, yung controversy yung ginagawa.
Correct. Oo.
Expect mo. Basically, the book is saying, ito nakakatakot sa Pinoy sci-fi eh. You're
Mhm.
telling people to expect more, pero you're telling it in a story to make them expect more.
Mhm.
Um, and and that could be challenging for our political people. Kasi imagine kung yung nasa no, yung mga nasa laylayan ng lipunan,
Mm.
nagsasalita sila about space colony and mining rights, and how do we prep our city para maka-benefit kami dun sa mining rights,
Mhm.
na yung mga kayamanan makukuha nila doon. I mean, pag tinanong mo lang yan sa isang politician natin ngayon, wala man ano
Yeah,
sasabihin?
yeah. Walang masasabi. Yes.
At saka malapit
Right.
na yan, ha? Kasi alam
Mm.
mo na, ano na sila Elon Musk, sila Jeff Bezos, meron na tayong tinatawag na space tourism, ano?
Mhm.
Eh,
Mhm.
gaano pa ba kalapit yung dalay na nila yan sa buwan? All right, lunar travels. Be an astronaut for a week. Ganon.
So
It's coming.
so it's kind of like not that distant. Pa rin naman, no? Not that distant kasi yung
Hmm.
iba dito nangyayari naman na or there's a huge possibility na mangyari na rin yan in the near
Yeah.
future. Now talking about the
Kaya
stories,
yes.
what's parang ano yung collectively ano yung mga stories dito? Like what are they about?
Okay.
Magkakadugtong ba sila or they operate
Yes.
in one
Yeah.
in one universe, na?
Yeah. One of the things I did with the book is I mean, originally hindi sila magkakadugtong, ano. Pero I
Mm.
thought, well, it's all about the Philippines, and so everything kind of is connected when you in the cosmos. Okay, in the whole scheme of science, everything is kind of
Mm.
connected, whether you like it or not. And quantum physics actually like tells us this. Um, so in light of that, okay, so I have no choice but to like make them somewhat connected. So yung mga stories is, for instance, the first one is about how the Philippines would handle when like the earthquake, the pandemic, and the stock
Mm.
market crash all happens together. Okay. Um, I mean, isang disaster lang, nagpe-freak out na tayo, walang, utang dito, utang doon. Paano pagka nagkasunod-sunod yan?
Yeah.
Um, Anong gagawin natin? Um, so, there are like, there's that question. Okay, so then you go on, and then the other story after that, I mean, we can go into each one a little bit more without revealing too much, but the next one is about like when the Philippines decides to become a leader in
Mm.
space colonization, and basically they had to step on a few toes to make that happen. Do we have leaders that are brave enough to say to everyone, "Screw you guys, we're going for gold"? And can we? Are you willing to back us up? You know. So, or whether you are willing to back us up or not, we're going for gold. I mean, to hell with you
Mm.
guys. There's that story, and it was a very touchy situation kasi meron silang collusion with the business sector. And it shows you the value of the business sector
Mhm.
working with the government to achieve a greater goal. Kaya yung mga pangyayari ngayon, again, it's asking people to think about who you're gonna vote. Like, how do they relate to the businesses? Kasi if we're going to forge ahead into a new world where we are colonizing planets, kailangan natin ng bold leaders at saka intelligent leaders na willing to work with business people. Okay?
Eh, it's a good thing
The
also
market.
na may twist ka dun, no? Kasi di ba, well, for what we know of history is, tayo yung nako-colonize. But in your book, tayo yung parang magli-lead or something. May ganun ka ng
Well,
magta-touch ka
actually,
dun.
kulelat
Mm.
tayo in space colonization.
Ako
Kaya
lelat.
nga, it took this, yeah, kaya nga itong leader na to basically decided to do something drastic. Kaya lang tayo naging first. Pero there was a
Mm.
great risk involved na ito yung damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Yeah.
If everything went wrong, patay lahat yung colonists. Then you'll be looking at least 500 people like dead. Ganon. And
Mm.
that's after 20 years of travel, huh? So it would take them 20 years to get to the nearest star in Alpha, Alpha Centauri ba yan? I can't remember na kung ano yung sinulat ko. But it's somewhere 20 years, okay? So, paano yun? Like, a risk, that's a big risk for that president.
Mm.
Imagine kung sino man yung leader ng country, pinabayaan mo mamatay yung 500 people. Hindi mo tinulungan. Or you
Mm.
deliberately sacrifice their lives for a good.
That's
Diba?
that's a lot
So,
of tension there. Yeah. That's a
Yeah,
lot of
definitely.
tension. Dun pa lang
Oo,
sa
tsaka
pag-decide.
ah, yeah, I mean, tsaka yung mga nagtrabaho like in your
Mm,
the ones that you've chosen to lead the experiment and all that sort of stuff, sila
right.
din like yung nandito naiwan sa Earth na nagma-monitor ng process. Kawawa din sila
Mm,
kasi
yes.
sila ang kakalabanin ng public eh dahil namatay yung 500, di ba? Kumbaga, kung namatay, ganun.
Mm. What's
Okay,
your ano?
so
What's your favorite story? Ilang stories ito,
apat.
Renato?
So,
Four.
apat na
Okay, four.
stories in one book. Tapos yung third story is about the development of technology, kung paano nangyari.
Mm.
Paano nga nangyari yung technology, tapos
Mm.
yung political fallout, nandun din sa third bit. Tapos yung fourth is about piracy. So, kung ano,
Mm.
again,
Interesting.
and how piracy is so, why is there piracy? Kasi kung pirates lang talaga yan, if you're looking at like back in the Middle Ages, yung, di ba yung,
Mm.
Arr, I'm a
Yeah.
pirate. The way you destroy them is you go after them and you destroy their ships, all their ships. So
Right.
you go after the bases. Paano kung government sponsored yung piracy?
Yeah. Trick
Mm,
question.
ano, tapos uminom pa yung collusion ng insurance, di ba? Like, so, insurance company
Mm.
benefits because they do the payout and stuff. Black market.
May agenda. May agenda.
Legit
Labanan.
lahat.
Labanan.
Hindi
Yes.
mawawala yan. Pero so yun nga, yung four stories na yan, kind of connected sila over,
Hmm.
4,000 period span of time. And it was just interesting, like to see how things would
Which
go.
one is your favorite do sa apat na yun?
I think the last one, which is the piracy one,
Piracy.
is what
Yeah.
I like writing. Yeah,
Why?
it's more action.
Okay. Yun ang
Merong
abangan namin doon, yung more action. Sabi ni Paolo, it's not piracy anymore, it's privateering. But
tomatoes,
we are intrigued.
tomatoes, Paolo. I mean,
We're intrigued dun sa action.
it's what are you gonna do? It's like
Yeah.
for the pirates, it's just straight up piracy. Pero to the people that are making the money, no, it's kind of a
You know,
tiny bit of
you
privateering.
know,
Nothing wrong with that.
I'm gonna be in a delicate position here, but with piracy, sometimes we have tawag dito, parang we're kind of in the middle sometimes. Kasi I don't know, bawal naman mag-pirate, pero may iba kasi na for example, but this is for studies, mga ganyan. But this
Right.
is something na
That's also
nagagamit.
in it.
Mhm, mhm.
That's all. It's
So,
like if you can't beat them, join them.
join them. Kaya naisip ko, what is this story about? I mean,
Right.
what's the take, no? What is the take of the character siguro
It's
regarding
it's it's a
piracy?
kind of it's a journey of a young, brilliant, beautiful lady um,
Mm.
who is a bit of an adventurer,
Mm.
uh, and then she kind of decides, it's like something happened to her na akala niya the law would be on her side to put away people, considering that some of these pirates like can actually
Mm.
get you killed, especially in deep space. Pag nasira yung life support system mo dahil sa pag-agaw nila ng cargo mo, ay maaaring mamatay ka dahil biglang
Mm.
mawawalan ka ng oxygen, gano'n. It's like, that's it.
May mga ano ba
So,
dito? Armory, you mentioned action, is it like barilan or something?
yung yes, sa fourth book, yung isang
Mm.
space adventure, yung isang yung second story, isang the colonization story, meron naman siyang twist in the end na It's
Mhm.
going to open up into the 500-page story na action din.
Mm.
Pero maganda rin siya dahil hindi kasing action pack ng ano ng fourth book, yung fourth story. Right.
I guess maganda rin yung gano'n na, I mean, ako personally, if I would want to read a sci-fi story, mas mag-invest ako dun sa ano rin, sa action.
Mhm.
Lalo na if I don't want to be overwhelmed with the, I don't know, how do you call it, with the science or the
Mhm.
technical stuff. So, natutuwa ako na meron kang gano'n, maraming action scenes. Now,
Mhm.
which was the most difficult to ano? I don't know if you mentioned earlier, which was the most difficult to write in the among the four stories, novels tuloy, four stories. Baka ano yun, mag-manifest, maka four novels ka, why not?
Yeah, actually, I can blow each up into a 500-page story, just on each and every one of them.
Mm-mm.
Pero sa ngayon, I don't wanna, because then I don't have enough lives to be able to do that. Pero yung pinakamahirap siguro is the one about the development of technology.
Aha.
Um, Kasi I had to think of uh, ways na how speed was gonna be achieved so that you can
Mm.
cross space in a lifetime. Imagine like pag umalis ka ng Earth and you're in your 20s, pagdating mo dun sa destination mo, 40 years old ka na.
Mm-mm, mm-mm. Right.
And what about yung iba na maaaring mamatay on the way? So,
Mm-mm.
it had to be, space has to, and other planets has to be within reach within your lifetime. Otherwise, it's not worth it. Like yung cost of getting there is not gonna be recoupable. Uh, so it's important na we develop the way we can accelerate objects in space quickly enough so that we can get them to the destination as fast as we can and within our lifetime.
Speaking
So,
of ano, yeah, sige. Go ahead.
sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, speaking of ano kasi technology, naisip ko lang kung nag-a-apply siyempre yung rules of ano, plausibility.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, 'di ba with anong tawag doon, with sci-fi, kaya
Mm-hmm.
ako nahihirapan magsulat ng sci-fi kasi initially I thought, pag sinabi sci-fi, anything goes. Anything I just wanna write. Hindi
No,
pala. Yeah,
no,
yeah.
never, never. I mean, things without Paolo was asking. Okay, hang on a sec, Paolo. Let me just answer this. Things are still within the laws of physics. For now, the physics as we know it. Okay, so
Mhm.
hindi ka pwedeng basta-basta lang gumawa ng story na walang scientific basis. I mean,
Mhm.
pwede, like Star Wars, yung lightsaber, ganon. Merong, um, ngayon, nakaimbento tayo ng way na to create a lightsaber. Pero
Mhm.
masyado siya maraming like gadgets at saka mabigat at saka dangerous hawakan. Okay, hindi katulad ng lightsaber, ganun-ganun ko lang. It's like
Yeah.
yung power pack nandun sa hand, nandun sa hilt. Um, so you still have to write something na quite tangible.
Mhm.
Uh, Traveling speed of light, that sort of thing. They're working on that. They're working on ways that they can do that. I thought, let me just answer one of, without giving away too much. Does your version of interplanetary space travel include faster
Faster
than
than
light?
light.
No, we're not. I'm not there yet because I don't know if there's any technology that's capable of that anyway. Kaya ang sa akin lang is pinabilis ko lang yung ship based on the achievement levels natin over the decades, centuries, and all that. To the point na it will take us 20 years to get to the nearest habitable planet. So that's why Star Wars is technically science fantasy. Correct. So merong science fiction then science fantasy. So yung
Ah,
science
okay.
fantasy is when they give you a piece of technology na papunta pa lang tayo doon. Ang
Mm-hmm.
example ng science fiction is like something like, not papunta pa lang, it's like you have to really bend the laws of physics para magawa mo yung science na yon na pinakita nila sa isang
This is for
science
science
fantasy.
fantasy or science
Correct.
fiction?
No, ito science fiction. Star Trek
Okay.
is science fiction
Blade
because a
Runner.
lot of Blade Runner, exactly.
Mm.
Because yung mga technology na ginagamit nila is a projection of technology na meron tayo
Meron
ngayon
tayo
based
ngayon.
on the current
Okay.
laws of physics.
Ah.
Oo.
Ah.
So, ganun siya. No, it doesn't mean that science fantasy can't come true. It just means that it just takes a lot of effort to get to that particular level, and sometimes it might take centuries
So
with
your book
ultra
is
advanced
ano
intelligence.
siya, yung stories. Is it sci-fic or sci-fantasy or a combination
It's
of
science
both?
fiction. Science
Ah,
fiction.
fiction talaga.
So hindi ako level ng Star Wars ha. Hindi.
Pang
Ibang
Runner, yan. Level na Star Trek. Okay pa rin
yes,
yun.
yan yan
Yes.
yan yan ganun, ganun.
I'm
Hindi ko
learning a lot.
kaya.
I'm really learning a lot. My friends would be very happy pag sinabi ko sa kanila, now I know the
Okay.
difference between science fantasy and science fiction.
Si
Kasi
Paolo,
hindi
yan,
ang dami kong hindi
magaling.
alam.
I'm
Mm.
glad that he raised that. Kasi ang tao, dito sa, let's take the Pinoy. Screw
Yeah.
the rest of the world. Let's just focus on Pinoy. Pag sinabi mo science fiction, nasa isip nila Star Wars, ganon,
Mm.
like, spaceships, yung mga
Yeah.
ganito. No, it's not always like that. It's like merong different grades ng science fiction.
Ako
Tsaka,
yun, ako, nag-iisip, ganun ako mag-isip.
yeah, it's like
Ah,
yung levels ng politics, ano mangyayari sa
yeah.
atin, like, yung evolution natin as Pinoy in terms of, magiging ano ba tayo? Like, anong magiging views natin in the future, napaka-tribal natin ngayon, ano mangyayari sa pag uh, in 2000 years time. Yes, under pala ng science fiction yung dark
Dark
storm.
Storm. Naku, hindi ko na alam yung Dark Storm.
Very
Invertebrate.
long story. Di ko rin kilala yun, ha? But yeah, so you have the things like climate, like
Yeah.
climate change, na mga ganon.
Digital currency, which you
Yes,
mentioned.
yeah,
Mm.
yeah. Pero climate change is also something that's very much in line with science fiction. Ano mangyayari sa atin in the future? Well, naturally, tataas yung water, babahain. Kaya, kaya ang ano ko is like maraming magtataasan na building kasi yung mga matataas na building na yon magiging interconnected siya para magkakaroon ng
Mm.
level ng ano na new roads, parang air roads
Yeah.
for air
Mm.
cars, di ba?
Yeah.
So hindi ka na kailangan
Paano?
bumaba sa ground, doon ka na sa taas. So makakatawid ka from building to building. Meron ng mga ways, may mga escalators, ganun, o di kaya travelators papunta sa ibang um, uh, buildings, monorails, ganon. So mga common things na ganon mangyayari. Um, but yeah, like it's important to understand like ano yung situation ngayon, climate yung mga ganon, because that also gives you a primer in terms of like ano mangyayari sa future. Hindi
I
naman
think,
forever na magto-tolerate ang Pinoy ng
mm,
baha na lang ng baha. Kutya, like
yeah.
1,000 years into the future, binabaha pa. No. Ang mangyayari dyan, like tataas yung magse-set up ang civilization natin, yung mga mayayaman, hindi na mababasa yung paa nila because talagang they're 20 feet above the ground.
And
So,
you know what I think of this? Naintindihan ko na siya eh. I mean, how science fiction works.
mhm.
And I think, dati kasi nahirapan akong to understand how to create these worlds. Pero yung nagiging technique mo, as I see it, is you just start with what's there. Tapos
Yes.
parang in-elevate mo lang siya, no? Yung gano'n,
Yes.
mas, yeah. So yeah,
It's
it's
it's not
working.
it's
Naintindihan ko siya eh.
It's not bad. I mean, this is what people used to do in the 70s. Like yung mga
Mm.
friends ko in the 70s. I'm 51, so I don't know why it's kind of stopped.
Mhm.
It's like I thought it would just keep getting stronger and stronger. Pero parang nawala yung Pinoy sci-fi. Like parang natabunan ng mga
Mhm.
rom-coms and all the dramas and stuff. Naiinis nga ako. Ito, I'm just going to plug Alimuom, by director Keith Sikat. Keith is a wonderful a director of sci-fi, and he's done a lot of other films too that are great. Pero yung sci-fi na ginawa niya, alam mo ba, like nung pinapalabas na nila sa sine, diniscount pa nila yung ticket ng sine.
Mm.
Just and I'm just saying, why'd you do that? I was willing to pay 300 pesos to watch that film. It's like, because ang isip nila, walang manonood, kaya diniscount nila. Ang ano ko, it's like,
Mm.
pag diniscount mo yan, ibig sabihin, walang kwenta yan. Like, isipin
Yeah,
ng
yeah,
tao,
yeah, yeah.
bakit ako nagbabayad ng mas cheap? That means hindi siya kasing ganda ng iba.
Mm.
And that's the level of appreciation or non-appreciation of sci-fi dito.
Sci-fi.
May papasok lang na I think audience na ano. Hi Blue. Um, Hi. So in Bigo. So guys, we're
Ibigo.
also watching. Uh,
Simultaneous broadcasting. That's
correct,
the
correct.
technology, development of technology for
Right,
for
right.
8 letters. Okay.
So
My next question is, say, meron na tayo doon sa creative process naman. Because I know also that you already had your first book. What's the title of? It starts with letter M.
ah, well, yeah, the Merovingian. That's more of
Merovingian.
an urban fantasy, which is kind of like uh, uh, the Sandman,
Uh-huh.
Neverwhere, by oh
Neil.
god,
Neil
by Neil
Gaiman.
Gaiman. Yes. So I decided, like with that one again, it's a little bit of a different genre now, but we're just touching on it. It's more a case of like what would happen if
Mm.
if somehow the lineage of Jesus Christ, followed by like devils and all these other people, actually come over to the Philippines and wage war here, like a private
Mm.
war. But
Mm.
whatever happens here would potentially spill over the rest of the world and affect everyone. So the cancer has to be stopped here. So that was basically the premise of that book.
Mhm.
And
The reason, yeah, okay, okay, go.
the link between the lineage of Christ coming here from Europe is if you can recall, when Quezon allowed 1,000 Jews to
Jews.
reside here because
Yes.
they were being persecuted by the Nazis.
Nazis, yes.
Okay, so that was the bridge that I started
Mhm.
that whole story. But anyway, but getting back to this thing, so there are those little triggers that I have that bring about the sci-fi stories.
Yeah, the
Um,
reason why I asked, because I wanted to know if the way you wrote that book, the first book, was different, or was it different or similar then as to how you wrote the
oh, they
stories?
they they're kind of they're very different.
No,
Um,
the
the,
process is
it,
different.
it was almost it was so different in a sense that that was bordering on having science fantasy in it as well as
Mm.
urban fantasy, like elves and all this
Yeah.
and Umu and Tikbalang and all that. That's all in there. Um, and that was well received by the media here.
Mm.
And unfortunately, because it's a 500-page book, everyone was a lot of people are too scared to kind of read it. So anyway, I came up, I sort of like pushing again with it and created the second edition. So I kind of cleaned it up a bit more, made
Mm.
it a lot more easier to read.
Easier, yes, to
Yeah. So
digest.
and I broke it up into chapters. I think I had like 70 chapters. So in the book,
That's a lot.
that's a, yep. So it is what it is. Yeah, but you know, it was a fun thing to write. It took me 2.5 years to do it. Uh, Not as quick as like this story took me about 6 months to do. Um, and I guess it was a challenge more than anything. Um, and I think it's worth it was worth the effort. All I can say, because what I was trying to do there, nawala si Vigo. Sorry, um, sorry, just bear with me. So otherwise we would. Oh,
Sige lang.
yeah. Sorry, sorry. Technical
It's
problems. Net
okay. It
unavailable.
happens.
Yeah. Yeah. It smart kind of died. That's okay. So we'll just continue on. Um, like okay.
Yeah, okay. So my next question is what's your unforgettable experience when you were writing any of the stories in Fate of a Distant Future? Meron ka
Um,
bang fun experience, scary experience?
it's a bunch of experience. Happy, sad, disappointment, elation. Um, especially let's just take this book. I mean, worry about the other one when you relaunch the second edition. But just for instance, with this, okay, I love science fiction. My friends in Australia love science fiction. My friends in the States like appreciate science fiction. Pero dito, magsulat ka ng science fiction, it's like,
Mhm. I
whatever.
understand.
Like, ano yan? Spaceships. Spaceships. It's like, no, man, it's not just that. Pero who would read it? So, to complete something like this, I would imagine that I'm setting something up in a distant future. I'm talking maybe
Mm.
20 years from now, someone would think back to this book and say, oh, yeah, those Pinoys, like they were actually thinking about these things back in 2021, you know?
Yeah.
So, so that's on us. That's kudos on us as Filipinos, that like if the world is going to recognize that we can do this, that we have the capacity to think beyond just the rom-com stuff that comes out on TV. This is something that they would look at us even 100 years from now or 200 years from now to say, yeah, they started thinking about that. They had people that was willing to that had the know-how to do that. Um, Now, case in point, um, when I first came to the Philippines in 2014, um, I was talking to a guy, a taxi driver, who's a satellite engineer. Tapos yung pala, yun na yung last week niya bago siya kunin ng Australia.
Mm.
Okay? Direct yun ha. Walang
Yeah.
agency. Direct kinuha siya dahil satellite engineer siya. Imagine kung how many rocket scientists meron tayo dito o aerospace
Yeah.
engineer o potential astronauts. You know?
Waiting to be discovered or
Waiting to be put into
yeah.
action. Like, again, we have to look at sino yung future leaders natin na magpa-facilitate sa ganun. Um,
Mm-mm.
because otherwise, kukunin at kukunin lang sila. Walang mangyayari dito. You know?
Sa literature, ikaw yung mag-facilitate. No? Like
Well, I'm sure
pushing
there are others.
further.
Yeah. I'm sure there
There
are
are
others.
others, yeah.
Pero I think yung level of marketing, it costs money to market, Kaya nga, like, I'm very proud that Eight Letters is here to support, my journey, like, as a sci-fi writer.
Thank you.
Um, yeah, I mean, it requires a team, like something like this. And that's what in the future, as Pinoys, if we're gonna strive for something better, you will see in my book that it's about working together, a unified cause. Hindi lang unified cause for political gain or anything like that. It's
Mm-mm.
unified, unified cause to like achieve something that's greater than what we have now. If that makes sense.
Um, Renato, since we're on it na rin do sa
Mhm.
themes and what this book can offer, meron ka bang excerpt that you can, like read for us?
Ah,
Kahit shoot
it's
lang
like
from the
from
book?
here.
Yeah.
Um, okay, let
Kahit
me
one
see.
paragraph lang. One
Like
paragraph.
one paragraph. I'll read one from the from actually the technology development side, which is
Okay.
the 49. Let's see. It's got a page 49. So, okay, page 49, bait and switch. Okay, the illustrations by Sam Rem. Um, and so we humans had always looked to the skies to one day possibly touch our God's hand. Thus, when we finally took to the skies in 1901 at the speed of 10 kilometers per hour, we continued to set a goal to go higher and fly faster, onwards to our dream of reaching the heavens. After 115 years, we were able to reach speeds of 730,000 kilometers per hour in space. Until one day in 5018, humans finally achieved the velocity of 25 million kilometers per hour necessary to visit the nearest habitable star system within 20 years, within a human lifetime, a feat of gods to humans back in 2020.
Alright. Gusto ko yung yung nearest, what's that?
Yeah,
Nearest star system?
star system. Yep. So that would actually, like, God, I'm forgetting. I shouldn't forget these things. But that the nearest star system is called the. Can I mention it here? It's the the Alpha Centauri system. Da 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 da. God, sorry, I'm losing it. I should know these things.
It's
Yeah,
okay.
sorry. Like, yeah, it escapes me. I can't remember where the hell I put it. It's Alpha Centauri. It's in Alpha Centauri. I know that much. So,
Sorry.
like, yeah,
Okay, curious
I'll
question lang. Since there's
yeah,
Alpha Centaurus and there's, star system, may aliens ba dito?
huh?
May aliens? Are
There
there
is
aliens
in the fourth book. There is in the fourth
Ah,
book.
okay. Fourth
Uh,
story.
First
Meron.
start. Pero it's lightly touched on. It's only lightly touched on. Hindi siya um, full on like alien.
Yes,
Actually,
yes.
it kind of touches on the a little bit about like how slavery happened and like how
Mm-mm.
it's a little bit about how Aboriginals were treated in the early days of settlement sa Australia. So parang ganun na nangyari sa kanila, and then they were saved somehow by a corporate system, a corporate entity. Um, and yun nga. Tapos dun nangyari. But it's in the fourth book. Hindi siya dun sa previous, the other ones. Fourth
You know,
book. Fourth story. I shouldn't say
fourth
fourth
story,
book.
yes. You know,
Okay.
ang gusto ko kasi dito, since I've been learning a lot from your book, from your stories, is that it's a bit of everything. May iba't ibang flavor, I would say. Kasi, I mean, there's an alien, but lightly touched on, there's cryptocurrency, there's piracy. So, I mean, marami siya. So, ang dami ko ring, actually say this, parang hindi siya one-sided lang. na ito lang yung interest. So marami akong pwedeng basahin dito based
Yeah.
on, say, what I can relate to first, or
Hmm.
what I could strongly resonate with. Piracy is one. So more likely,
Okay.
upon
Eh,
getting your book, I'm gonna read the fourth story first. Okay.
Ito lang
Now,
ano,
that,
like
yeah.
yeah,
Mm.
just quickly. Ang science fiction, it's not so much about the science, it's the way humans behave really. Para din siyang melodrama. So as I said this before in one interview I had, what I'm thinking now will be the same as people 100 years from now. Like it'll be the same thing that they're thinking, pero they've got air cars. They can do a travelator to the next building, or they can take a monorail to the next to the next city. High speed trains, nuclear power plants next door, na pretty safe. But they're still aspiring to like having um, lots of like stuff. They want to buy the latest Gucci bags. They want to buy but they don't want to shop in on Earth because it's so expensive. So they go to the moon. The shopping is better in the moon. May mga Changi sa moon. So it's still kind of the same. Where's the best place to live? Oh, in the lunar city, or
Hello,
in
Ian.
Titan.
Sorry, nawala ako.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I know wala.
So
Sorry.
sorry. Okay.
That's okay. So where I don't know if anyone came through. Like anybody get that?
I think, di ko
Testing,
alam
testing.
kung sino sa atin yung nawala, but I
Where are you up? Where are you up to?
hanggang dun
Saan
sa
yun
ano,
you up
medyo
to?
dun sa umpisa halos. About science, about about humans
Oh,
behaving.
oh my
Yeah, yeah.
God. Okay. All right. Just repeating. Science fiction is really just about human aspirations. Like yung
Mm-hmm.
aspiration nung one example I did is when I did middle in the Stone Age, diba? They're all trying to they just throw rocks in space,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and then they wanted to know how to kill more people, so they invented the machine gun. So over time, because they want to be able to throw rocks in space more rapidly, and they wanted to do more explosions and or kill more people, so that so they invented bombs and all this. So you see the progression of the way the desires drive like technology. Yun ang, yun ang sci-fi. It's just the common trend is the desires of humans. Yes, nasisira yung net.
Okay, I'm just jumping now.
Yeah,
Ah,
yeah, net.
okay. Yeah, so I've been listening to the whole book launch. Wow, grabe. I would say na dapat talaga marami pang magbasa ng science fiction, lalo na sa Pilipinas.
Yes.
It's very underrated genre. Ayan, Chris is back.
Hello.
Yeah,
Ayan na.
Chris is back.
Woo!
Yeah.
Okay.
Um.
Right. So I think we have 1 minute left.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, but this has been a really meaningful conversation, and I'd like to know more. Prince RB saying sana daw pala nabasa niya yung book before for future references. I should have I should have read or bought this book for future references. Prince, you can buy this book now.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
you want to write sci-fi again, so bumili ka na ngayon. How much does this book cost, Renato? And what are the various formats
Okay.
na available?
So we've got I think 8 letters. I've got the audio book coming out soon. They've
Mhm.
also got the ebook, I believe, for foreign sci-fi readers. You can get it from Amazon, the print and also the ebook. It's on Lazada as well. So
Yeah.
just look up Lazada. Um, Look up on Lazada. Look up Fate of a Distant Future in Lazada. Shopee then. So yeah, it's out now, and I hope you guys enjoy the stories in it.
How much does the paperback cost?
Oh, the this costs. Well, I think like 8 letters is selling it for 450 on Lazada. Shopee's a little bit more, um,
Mm-hmm.
but it's around 450.
450. Okay. If you want a paperback or if you want to have the audiobook, you just have to wait for 8 letters set to like put
Mm-hmm.
that together to convert. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean,
Yes.
like it's available. Like you can get it anywhere now, like Amazon. Like
Hmm.
I can, and
Yes.
directly from e-letters as well. So yeah.
Thank you so much. You know, guys, if you're a fan of sci-fi stories, you'll definitely enjoy the book. I'm just waiting for my copy. While the stories speak of a distant future, the possibility of this book becoming a bestseller is, just around the corner. Kasi
Hmm.
nakita ko na dun sa mga kwento kanina na it's really relatable. So, it's not something that would, alienate readers. We have one really talented individual here who knows the genre so well and who knows how to market the book and who knows the audience. Congratulations, Renato, and thank you for trusting 8 letters.
Thank you for having me. It's
Yeah,
been swell.
and like the Terminator, he said, "I'll be back." Okay, we hope
Hasta
to
la
see you
vista,
again
baby.
soon. Yeah, we hope to see you again soon, Renato. I hope you'll be back with more stories. With more adventures set in the distant future. Yeah, and
Lovely.
yeah, thank you so much
Thank
again.
you.
And to everyone who watched, thank you for listening to us for almost an hour. We have one more guest tonight, so tune in at 6 p.m. That's right now
No.
for the launch of Ripening Stories from Gold Street. See you in a bit. Bye
Thank you.
everyone.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.